What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Live with Mona. I'm your host, Mona, and as always, here to bring you exciting topics and expert conversations in Web3, metaverse, crypto, AI, and whatever else is hot and trending. So, tonight, we're going to dive into the topic of toys and collectibles and this shift, this digital shift that's taking place in this realm. We're going to talk about what this shift means for you, the collector, the consumer, and how it's going to impact your social and your shopping experiences. Now, I am not the expert for this, but I got the expert here for you to answer your questions and take us back to school. Let me bring him in. There he is. His name is Will Weinraub, the co-founder and CEO of Unchained Studios. I am so excited to have you on the show tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Absolutely, Mona. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, it's a pleasure. It's actually funny because I first heard you talk about digital collectibles. I think I mentioned this to you.
Yeah, of
Uh, it was a year and a half ago on overpriced JPEGs. Do you even remember that?
course, yeah. Shout outs to Carly. She's amazing.
She is brilliant. She's amazing. And I learned so much from her and her show. But I remember seeing you on that show and I said to myself, wow, just his insight. And he's so innovative. I have to have him on my show. And fast forward, I think I mentioned this to you, but we've been side by side in
Yeah.
Twitter spaces for half a year. What?
Yeah,
I didn't put two and two together. And I blame it on your PFP, man. Seriously.
that's the downside of PFPs is you can't connect the dots sometimes.
Guys,
But yeah,
I have been on the stage with Will for almost half a year, and I had no idea this was the same Will.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
pretty
You
bad.
got it. But it's been fun. I mean, we've been doing shout out to the Twitter spaces every Sunday night, the reset. I join when I can. You do a terrific job co-hosting that. And for folks that are listening in, definitely tune in Sunday nights to the reset. Mona, runs an incredible Twitter space that covers AI, emerging technology, Web3. And whenever I can, whenever I have Sunday nights open and I'm able to jump on for a little bit, it's a must for me. So
And you bring such insight and knowledge on this topic, and that's why I selfishly wanted to have you on because there's so many questions that I want to bring up and topics that I want for us to talk about. My audience is the mainstream audience, and I've always wanted to be the facilitator of information between what is being built in Web3 and the mainstream audience, and show them where's the value and why they should pay attention.
mhm.
So tonight, I think that's what I want to accomplish with this topic. But I want to start with your Cryptoys journey because I remember when I first heard it, I remember it intertwined with your children.
Yeah.
And so, if you can, I want to take a moment and have you introduce yourself to my audience, and then share your Cryptoys journey with us, if you will.
Sure, absolutely. And I guess looks like you have Ace also. Ace is joining the show here too. So the whole story with dates back to around 2018. I had sold my previous company, which was called Live Ninja. I had earn out with the acquiring company, and at that time, was working from home and was fascinated. I got introduced to NFTs through a tech VC that I follow, Fred Wilson, somebody who I deeply admire, was an early investor in Twitter, Tumblr, and other really big tech companies. So he writes a blog called avc.com. And in 2017, 2018, he writes about this thing called CryptoKitties and this new format of digital collecting and NFTs. And he says, "Don't laugh; it's a digital cat on the blockchain, but this is why NFTs can be a big thing one day." And for me, it instantly registered because I've been a collector all my life. I grew up collecting baseball cards, comics, pogs, all different kinds of things back in the day. And then I became a big gamer. So I was really into digital, and the idea of like mixing collecting with like the digital world that I was into from a gaming aspect made so much sense to me. This idea of provable digital scarcity on the blockchain. So I dove headfirst into CryptoKitties. At the same time, I have three kids now. At the time, I had two. My daughter, who was 6 years old at the time, she was absolutely addicted to these toys, these blind bag surprise unboxing toys. Like, LOL surprise, Hatchimals, Shopkins. Basically, the idea is you buy these things at like Target or Walmart, 30 bucks. You don't know what's inside. Kids take them home, they open it, and inside is a random toy. And some are more rare
Yeah.
than others. And, she was just so obsessed with this stuff. I was spending, tons of money on it. And then, one day I like asked myself, like, as any kind of consumer entrepreneur would, why this? Why are you so fascinated with this? And I started looking up this whole blind bag craze, which literally dominated the toy industry at the time. Billions of dollars in revenue just through the blind bag subcategory of toys. The rise of YouTube and unboxing videos really helped propel that. And, for me, I kind of got it because I was a big baseball card collector. And that's the idea. You open up a pack of cards, you don't know what you're going to get. Inside might be a rare one. And effectively, this was the toy version. So I was just fascinated with the model, and the fact that my daughter was obsessed with it gave me a real front row seat to it. And then one day I'm working from home, and she screams from the playroom with excitement, and she says, "Dad, come quick, come quick! Oh my God, I got it! I got the ultra rare! I found the ultra rare!" And I go to see what she's doing, and she's holding up this like gold glittery plastic doll. She looks at
Oh,
it for like 10 seconds and then throws it in the pile with all the other ones just to collect dust. And that was like the big light bulb moment to me. I said, "Oh my goodness, here is this multi-billion-dollar segment of the toy industry that's predicated on collectability and scarcity. There's no utility after people collect it. They're just, it's collecting dust there in the corner.
yeah.
If we were to be able to digitize it, we could digitize it now through this new NFT technology that Fred's talking about, this whole crypto kitty thing." So I asked my daughter, I said, "Sweetheart, what if I were able to make you the digital version of these toys where you can collect them, chase after the rare ones, but then when you get them, you could actually do things with them, play games with them, interact with them in different ways. Would that be something you'd be interested in?" And she was like, "Oh my God, Dad, that would be amazing. I'd love that." So my co-founders and I, we got, the band back together. And then, Freddie joined the team very shortly after that. And Freddie was somebody that my co founder Emilio knew back from working at Disney years ago. We all banded together to create this side project called Cryptoys. We had full time jobs, all of us. So we were working nights and weekends, and just as a little passion hobby project from 2018 to 2020, just like making progress where we could. Obviously, nobody cared about NFTs and digital collectibles from 2018 to 2020. It was pretty bare winter market. And then, we just kept making progress, having fun with building it for our kids. And then before we know it, all of a sudden the market's starting to turn. NBA Top Shots released. All of a sudden NFTs are a big thing in 2021. And we had so much interest coming into the platform from potential partners and investors. And it was then where we're like, okay, let's do this full time. Every time we're not, any day that we're not doing this full time is a day wasted. So it was then
Yeah.
where we incorporated On Chain Studios as the parent company, and then Cryptoys became a full time job for us starting in 2021. But it all started, with this little side project that we were doing for our kids. So,
Isn't that amazing? That is quite a story, and how cool that your kids inspired that.
yeah.
And that stuck with me, and I wanted you to share that with the audience. But you know what? When you were talking, I feel like we have also finally nailed this concept as you're talking about how your daughter just threw the toy, just that reveal was the excitement for her, and then she just tossed it aside. And I feel like we've finally nailed this concept in Web3, right? That resonates with the general public when it comes to that excitement and cherishing and keeping and holding on to that excitement. Now,
Mhm.
you said baseball cards, sneakers, for me, it's sneakers, memorabilia, right? People love collectibles and they
Right.
love collecting. And I think we've finally in Web3 are seeing something that people can relate to and are paying attention. And I think Web3, is facilitating the convergence of these collectibles and immersive worlds. So I do want to ask you, just to set the stage for our mainstream audience, will you kind of take us back a little bit to this evolution of collectibles, where it started with baseball cards and where we are right now, and what is it that's driving this shift toward digital collecting? I mean, for you, was your daughter tossing that toy, right? But what is it in the big picture that is driving this shift?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, just yeah, humans by nature, we like to collect things. I know you and me, Mona, we're both sneakerheads, so the idea of collecting sneakers and having a collection are, is that's something we love, and this is something that goes back, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years. Humans collect things, whether it's rocks and sticks or whether it's baseball cards and stuff like that. So it's very primal, for humans to collect and do something in an interest based field. At the end of the day, what collecting has turned into is something that you're passionate about, something that brings you joy, and something that helps you connect with other people. It builds a sense of community. So, like, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, right? Like, I love Star Wars. As you can see, I got Boba. Yeah. Oh, nice. I mean, I think
See?
I got the exact same one over here.
We can only have him on for like 3 seconds before Disney gets us in trouble, though.
No, I think I'll be able to chat with Disney. I think they'll be cool with it. So
Yes, you are, aren't you? We're gonna talk. Oh my gosh! Wait a
the
second.
twin.
Yes, we do have the same addiction.
Exactly, right? Yeah,
Yep.
Valley.
I mean, we're adults doing this, guys. We're
Great.
adults.
Just two adults, you know.
We're really
But
children at heart.
right?
But yeah.
That's a good example, right? So, like, the reason that we do this stuff, and the reason I connected so much to Star Wars was really not just about the story, because the story is great, but it started off with a bond between me and my older brother. My older brother was into Star Wars, and I wanted to connect with him. I wanted to be able to, talk about the different characters and the storylines and all that. And then you start to realize what a huge community of Star Wars fans there are out there. And it gives you such joy to connect with other people around a shared passion. And that is the case for Star Wars. That's the case for sneakers. That's the case for baseball cards. Whatever the case may be, that's why we love collecting, is really the community aspect of it, and connecting with other folks around a nice mindset. So, yeah, go ahead.
No, 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 absolutely. I was just gonna say, and we'll get into this. There's a collecting and there's a retail side of this, but I don't, while we're here, let's do talk about this partnership with Disney
Oh,
because
sure.
that's huge. By the way, congratulations. That is a
Thank you.
huge deal. You have to pat yourself on the back, by the way. I know we never take the time to really acknowledge the achievements. So hats off to you. This is a big deal. We're really excited. And yes, I do want that digital Grogu. So
Yeah.
just drop the alpha later. But when we talk about Star Wars and we're talking about digital collectibles, Disney immediately comes to mind, right?
Yeah.
At least for me. And this deep rooted affection, infatuation, obsession that us fans have for this iconic characters, right? What is talk to us about these IP brands? And I do have a three-part question here, maybe. When it comes to merging big IP brands with Web3, because I would assume this is a huge responsibility, right? You're the facilitator of that. How is Cryptoys bringing these favorite characters into the digital realm? What does the licensing even look like in these scenarios? To walk us through this evolution, if you will.
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, like, we're incredibly grateful to be working with Disney. They're fantastic partners. We work very closely with them, and every time we talk to them and have meetings, it feels like one team. Everybody's like firing off different ideas, and energies through the roof, and you just know right off the bat that Disney is a company that leans forward into innovation, that wants to see what's next and what consumers are interested in, and really kind of push the limits of what's possible. It's very much in the Disney DNA, and that matches the On-Chain Studios Cryptoys DNA. So culturally, the two teams mesh really, really well together. And we connected with them, and initially when we connected with them, it was just like the way we were thinking about these characters. And first of all, I think the reason that what we were building resonated with Disney is we're massive Disney fans ourselves. Like, and you can't fake that. Like, I've been going to Disney. I grew up in Miami, so I have Florida resident pass, annual pass, so I would go multiple times a year with my kids. We all were Disney fanatics and are Disney fanatics, and Star Wars, in particular. and also obviously all the classic characters. So like when I talk about these brands and what they mean to me, I think they could sense the authenticity. Oftentimes when we do product, I would not say oftentimes, I say all the time when we do Cryptoys products, we say we want this to be like a love letter from fans of that IP to fans of that IP. So like the only way to do that is you have to be a fan yourself and know how to construct it. So Disney really understood that we cared and we'd be good stewards for the brands and do it justice. We weren't going to take any shortcuts in creating an amazing, amazing product. So it starts with that alignment, and then obviously all the licensing things kind of fall into place from there, and you figure out a good middle ground, and then you get to work, from a production standpoint. And I'll say again, the Disney team has been fantastic working right alongside us on these lines, and we're incredibly grateful to have them as partners.
So they are looking for intermediaries for this process, right? Or how do they leverage with these digital collections?
Intermediaries, you mean?
Yourself to have people
Well,
like you to merge them into
yeah,
I call it the Web3 realm.
yeah. I think again, I think they Disney, as I mentioned, is leaning forwards into new types of trends and new types of products, and always trying to innovate. And this is one section of innovation. And yeah, I think they carefully select their partners that they could do justice. Again, when you have a brand like Disney, you don't want to dilute that brand with subpar products. So we feel very honored that Disney even selected us, and we were able to work with Disney on their iconic IP. I guess something as a Star Wars fan, I want to make sure that we put forward the best product possible and something that we can be proud of. And I think we did that, and I think Disney feels the same way. And customers, it's been great to see their reaction to the product because they love the product as well. So yes, they are. Have been great in looking for partners that could help really tell the stories of these iconic characters in new and exciting ways.
Are you, because I know they shut down their metaverse project, are they also looking into immersive experiences with these characters?
That I don't. I mean, beyond what I know from my platform, I don't have any insight into the things that they're doing in other aspects. But all I could say is just knowing that the DNA of the people that we work with, they're always looking to innovate and push boundaries. So I would imagine so.
Yeah, absolutely. What type of feedback are you getting from your Cryptoys community? I mean, I would assume everyone is infatuated with these characters.
Yeah, they love it. I mean, Sherry Khan, who's our CMO, who has worked at Disney, DreamWorks, Riot Games. She's a very seasoned marketer. She has said many times that in her entire illustrious career of working through marketing at all these big brands, she's never seen a customer sentiment percentage be this high of satisfaction with the product. So, the community response has been fantastic. We're still a very young platform. We're about to approach in November our 1 year anniversary of being live. So still, relatively new in the grand scheme of things. And just early
Very.
on, the feedback has been tremendous. And we have a lot of amazing things planned here for the coming year, a lot of features and functionality coming. So we're just grateful that the community sees value in what we're building and is enjoying the product.
Of course, it's moving so fast too. Can hardly keep up, but there is so much opportunity here. And I want to sort of merge this digital collecting with commerce and fandom because I want you to explain fandom to the audience. I just covered, and I want to bring up Vivi here. Our friends over at Vivi. I recently, I don't know if you saw, but I covered the Marvel Christian Louboutin collaboration. I'm going to play the clip here for you because I want you, when I covered this, obviously I was very excited. I thought, and I still do, I think it's such a great opportunity for retail and such a lower barrier to entry for fans, users, loyal customers to shift to toward web3. But let me, and I'm just going to explain this here. I mean, this was a collaboration between Marvel and Christian Louboutin. And Christian Louboutin did this for their loyal customers. So if you bought the comic as a token of appreciation, you received these lovely gladiator digital collectibles, right? And or if you bought the phygital, or if you bought the physical item at the store, which is right here, they're like $4,000, you also received the digital collectible. Brilliant. Okay, this is a brilliant idea, and like I said, I think it provides a lower barrier to entry. It's a huge opportunity for Web3. It's a huge opportunity for retail. It changes the retail experience, and again, it creates something relatable. But here's my question for you, and I
Yeah.
would love for you to explain this to me. How many loyal customers do you think cared to actually redeem digital gladiators?
Yeah, I don't know. That I can't speculate on. I would like to hope if with something with high end fashion like that, I can only imagine the people that bought it just to bought it. Maybe they would redeem it because they're like, hey, why not? That's cool. Let me explore it. I would hope that there's a good conversion rate, but I would also understand as someone in the space that maybe sometimes people gloss over it because they don't know necessarily what to do with the digital collectible. I also see a lot of folks that are native digital collectors decide to buy the physical just so they can get the digital. I think I saw a couple instances of that where there was some guys that are like middle-aged guys that bought their first pair of high heels just so they could get the digital NFT. So that's
Just to
interesting.
have it.
That's
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, no, I want this. I want the physical and I want the digital. So we understand this language, right? But I always want to put my head where I don't know my neighbor is at. And if
right.
my neighbor is a loyal customer at Christian Louboutin, how do we get him to be interested in wanting to go through the process of
For sure.
collecting that digital collectible? You know what I mean?
100%. And I always go back to it's a buzzword in our industry. It's utility. So if you ask the normie, we call people affectionately the normies, people that don't digitally collect or just normal mainstream folks. Okay, you bought those high heels, congratulations, and they love the physical from a fashion standpoint. Go ahead and go get the digital version. And the first question will be, what can I do with it? What can I do with the digital version? So we need to have a good answer to that question beyond just collecting. Collecting is one aspect, and sometimes the physical collector mindset doesn't immediately go to the digital collecting mindset. We got to give them a reason to have the digital, whether that is a social aspect, augmented reality, being able to share something cool with their friends, access to a particular event. So it could serve as a ticket to a behind the scenes event of some sorts. We need to help cross that bridge with something that's familiar. So I think that's the onus is on us, the industry, for us to help cross that chasm. We can't just help folks come around to it, especially folks that are over the age of 16 years old, because under 16 in this next generation, this is very natural to them, the idea of a digital collectible and a digital item. We don't have to
Mhm.
worry about the Roblox generation and the Minecraft generation. They understand this completely. It's the folks that are 30, 40, 50 years old that are buying these physicals and need to understand why they have a need or a use case for the digital item.
And I think this is a very easy thing to do for Disney, right? Connect these digital collectibles with an experience. Because let's
Yeah,
say I am walking down, I am 2 minutes away from Disney Springs. And when I walk through Disney Springs, there are characters everywhere.
sure.
So if I buy that character, there needs to be some type of education information for me to know that as a Grogu lover, and collector of Star Wars, there's also a digital version available for me. And if I purchase that physical Grogu, then I can have the digital and then I can have certain Disney experiences, right? So that really changes the retail experience as well.
I completely agree. Absolutely. We need to start, leading the conversation more with utility and functionality versus what really has gotten the space to this point, which has driven a lot of hype, which is speculation and speculative value from a monetary standpoint. Now the conversation needs to shift into what can you actually do with the digital thing and why should I have an interest in
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I think about is, when you are someone like Disney and you have the Star Wars characters, when it comes to distribution, those Star Wars characters are everywhere. They're not just limited to Disney Springs. I can go to Walgreens, I can go to Walmart, I can go to Target, I can go to Amazon. How do you see that working for digital?
it?
When it comes to distribution, how do you get the digital to be in all of these places?
Well, I think the beautiful thing about digital is that it is automatically everywhere the customer is. You know, with physical, you have to plan out different distribution channels, like you said, right? I got to plan out to be in Amazon. I got to be in Target and Walmart. Digital comes with a unlimited distribution as long as you can market it properly, right? You can, market it, do a campaign, and all of a sudden you're global. You're accessible to anyone just a few clicks away. So I think that's really one of the benefits of digital collecting is simplify the process, make it accessible for everyone, and most importantly, do the brand justice. So not to say that digital collecting can't take advantage of other distribution channels. I think that's really the next step for the space, selling digital collectibles on other marketplaces and other big retailers as retailers make the shift to digital. I think a lot of the examples that you mentioned, the folks that, of all those big name retailers, a lot of those folks are thinking actively about their digital strategy and how digital collecting can be incorporated. Things like Amazon, by the way, Amazon's been selling digital products for years. You can go on and buy a Nintendo Switch game right now on Amazon and get a redemption code, and then go to your Nintendo, plug in the redemption code, and boom, you sold it. Nintendo used Amazon as a distribution channel. You got the code and you're playing a Nintendo game without even getting a physical fulfillment. So it's only natural that Amazon's going to continue doing this stuff as digital merchandise becomes more and more prevalent. Again, this Roblox generation, as this generation gets older and gets to purchasing power, because right now they use Robux and parents buy and load up their accounts and stuff like that. But once this generation gets a credit card, and they're over the age of 18, has purchasing power, this space is incredibly intuitive and natural for them. They already
Yeah.
understand the value of digital items. They understand the reach that a digital item can give them. And I think that's when you're going to see really the next big wave of digital collecting take off, is when I see these digital natives really coming of age to buy these things for themselves as opposed to asking their parents for money, which works again with things like Roblox and Minecraft. But I think you'll see a whole other level when these kids, actually get a credit card and they were able to purchase things.
Will, credit card? These kids are not getting credit cards. They're spending their Bitcoins and Ethereum. Come on now.
They'll have their money stored in Coinbase, and they'll use their virtual Coinbase card to buy things.
Exactly. Xander here in the chat says to have like a QR code under their figurine that will take you to the digital version of it. And not just digital version, but to also take you to that experience. So if
Right.
if I scan the physical Grogu, I would think then Disney really has to think about, and I don't want to keep saying Disney because it could be Amazon, but they have to think about what that experience is going to be, right? And they
Yeah.
need to, would they be working with someone like you to build that experience around that phygital or digital?
Yeah. I think all these different partners that we work with are open to new ideas of how we can help them with reach new people and create new experiences with their intellectual property. Obviously we work in tandem with these teams, so we're very much in lockstep with what those use cases are. But I'll tell you, every licensing partner that we work with, every single one of them, whether it's Disney, Mattel, or some of the other ones that we have yet to announce that we'll be announcing soon, everybody's like, we're on offense. Like, what's the ideas? Like, come to us with ideas. We're open minded and we want to build cool stuff. So what do you think would be a cool use case? They're very forward thinking in that approach. So I've been seeing that mentality through and through across all licensors. And I think, your viewers would probably be surprised to hear this during a quote unquote bear market, right? Because if there was all this hype in 2021 and early 2022, whenever all the money was going up and to the right, and now there was a lot of licensing interest, brands were coming into the space left and right, and now all of a sudden the space is kind of quote unquote deflated from a pricing standpoint.
Yeah.
From my vantage point, brands are doubling down right now. They're not leaving the space. They're actually doubling down and saying, we're here to stay. As a matter of fact, this is actually better grounds for us to enter the space in, because the speculation and the flipping aspect is now out of it. Now it's about primary use cases and fandom, fun, fandom, and entertainment. And that's really, from a consumer product standpoint, where you want to, start at its core, versus artificial speculation and flipping and then figure out the utility down the line. That usually doesn't bode well from a product roadmap perspective.
You said fandom, and I think the mainstream audience are not familiar with that phrase. Will you explain it in the context of Cryptoys? What is that fan experience with Cryptoys characters?
Sure. So, the way we like to think about Cryptoys is we're a digital toy company, and in many ways we're the first digital toy company. There really hasn't been a digital toy company created from the ground up as purely a digital toy company. So the idea is if you were to create a toy company from scratch and it was purely digital, what are the things that you would be able to build that you wouldn't be able to build in the real world because you had limitations of plastics and manufacturing and the laws of gravity. There's only so many things you could do with physical toys, thanks to those real world limitations. But if it's digital, you can do whatever, right? Really, there is no ceiling, and it's up to your imagination on the experiences you can provide. So, we're building a lot of stuff in that regard. The first thing that we rolled out is we wanted to create the best unboxing experience possible. Again, back to my daughter's love for blind bag and surprise unboxing toys, we were like, all right, if unboxing a toy and that feeling of opening a present, taking apart the wrapping and getting the surprise is one of the best parts, how can we elevate that if we have no limitations? If we don't have the limitations of materials and gravity and whatever, what can we do? So we created what we feel like is the best representation as a digital unboxing experience where, like I said, we try to write a love letter from fans of that IP to fans of that IP. So we only really partner with brands that we can do that justice. If you saw Masters of the Universe, which you just pulled up, it's because we're a bunch of Masters of the Universe fans. If you pull up Star Wars, it's because we're a bunch of Star Wars fans. Like we know how to speak to that brand because we make things that pull on our own heartstrings. When we created the Star Wars experience, it's literally a floating holocron that floats in the sky with sound effects and laser light shows, and the Force Star Wars theme music is blaring in the background. You get
Yeah.
sucked in through hyperspace, and the blister pack appears. The whole environment change. It's in a kyber crystal. When you unbox the blister pack, we replicated the effect from the movies of when lightsabers cut through metal. That's the same effect that we used in the blister pack. So these are things that you could only do in the digital format. So again, we really just try to pull on the heartstrings of fans, and a lot of people, when like we just did the Mickey line, and that unboxing experience is incredible. If folks haven't seen it yet, I urge them to check it out. People say every time I unbox a Mickey Cryptoy, I feel like I'm going to Disneyland for 30 seconds. I feel like I'm an 8-year-old kid in
Yeah.
Disneyland for those 30 seconds of my day. No matter what's happened in my day, no matter how stressed I am with work, for those 30 seconds, I'm 8 years old in Disneyland and I can smell the popcorn. And those are the experiences that we want to create.
It is.
Yeah,
It's so nostalgic. It's really nostalgic. And when I was playing I want to bring this up here, your demo,
yeah,
I feel like there is such an entertainment opportunity because when I was watching this, I was like, I want to know more. I want is this a film? Is it a cartoon? Does it have a because it has a beginning, middle, and end, and it tells a very compelling story that I want to know more about. And a lot of people, PFPs or when NFTs first came through art, a lot of people are now looking at those NFTs and saying, "Oh, what are you going to do with it now? It's worthless." But I don't look at it that way. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for, let's say, top 10 NFT collection or top 20 NFT collection to do things like this, whether it's, film, cartoon, games, retail, toys. There's so much opportunity that we can look back. Like, remember back in the day when I was a kid, I loved Hello Kitty, right? If you have a Hello Kitty now, it's an antique, right? So if you have a bored ape 10 years from now, that could that could be something, right? But then in between, there's so much opportunity with entertainment. I want to get your feedback on that. It doesn't end just with collectibles, right?
no. So we really have three pillars to Cryptoys. We have toys, gaming, and entertainment. So the toys that you can collect, the gaming, which is how you can play with the toys in different ways, and the entertainment, like how are you entertained in between those aspects. So if you look at a brand like Masters of the Universe, right, which we did, with Mattel. Masters of the Universe, you can ask how did a kid fall in love with Masters of the Universe back in the 80s? For some people, they started with the toy. They got a toy for Christmas. and they were like, okay, wow, this is a cool toy, and now I want to go watch the cartoon. I hear there's a cartoon on Saturday mornings. They started watching the cartoon, that got them more into the fandom of it. They became fans and they started buying more of the toys, and they just loved the franchise. Other people watched the cartoon first, fell in love with the franchise, and then months later bought their first toy. It could start either way, right? And we want to build a brand that has those three pillars so consumers can discover it with the product that they like the most or that they discover the most for that period of time, right? So for some people, they might watch that series that we're creating an animated series. You just showed like a little preview of that, and we're building on the story. They might discover that on YouTube or on a streaming service and say, wow, what is that? I want to, interact more with the product. And then, that leads them to buy a product on cryptoys.com. Or they might see a Twitch streamer play one of our games and we're like, how can I play those games? And then they decide to buy the product. Or they could see the game, then watch the show, enjoy the show, then buy one of the toys. So, to really create, if we want to build the world's best digital toy company, we have to get back to basics on like what consumers really need to fall in love with a brand and to grow a brand in a healthy way. I think the first wave of NFTs was like, let's create these cartoon PFPs, and a bunch of people will buy it. It'll drive up the price at speculative value. That's what happened with a lot of these projects. My theory with this whole space moving forward is we got to get back to basics from a consumer brand standpoint. And how do you build IP the old-fashioned way? The reason Pokemon first edition 1990 base set Charizards are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars is not because they were engineered to be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars when they were printed in the 90s. It's because they created an awesome brand. They started with fun fandom and utility, which was like they're going to create a Game Boy game and a trading card game, and they told awesome, compelling stories. And that created enough fans around the world that it made those things worth something down the line. So it's about building that first, and then the value comes after if you do a good job. But this whole phase of the NFT market in 2021 was trying to do the reverse. They were trying to create the value first and then do the functionality later, where that's not sustainable for more than a one cycle hype moment, which is what we saw in 2021. We need to build more sustainably, get back to basics, and that's what we're trying to do with Cryptoys is build for the long term.
And you nailed it on the head, and what you said there is literally going to make or break web3 projects, and that is to make a compelling IP first.
Right,
Because when you mention these projects that we'll call them web 2 projects or traditional projects, what they did, they created compelling IP that was so addictive that people wanted to right away share it with everyone.
right.
And so and that's what web3 has is missing a lot of times that we see in projects, and there is a reason I also haven't brought up the web3 technicalities. I haven't talked about flow, and I'm not going to talk about flow because we talk a lot about the technology. What we're here to do is to talk about what is relatable to the average user or buyer or
Right.
customer, right? We're here to show them and give tell them a compelling story. And I think you've done that so nicely here. Your storytelling is so impeccable, it's so attractive, and it makes me want to know more. I don't care that and as a matter of fact, I hope we don't call it NFTs anymore. When
No,
I see this character, I want the digital version because I am a collector. I
right.
love Star Wars and I want to collect the digital version of it. Don't repeat NFTs to me because the moment I hear that I back up, right?
That's right, because we associate NFTs with the speculative flipping value, and that was the wrong conversation to have if we want to attract the masses, right? We want to attract the next 5 million people to the space. We can't go out to market to the next 5 million people and say money. You're going to make money. That's like not the right way to say it because that's what the entire space has been doing for 2021 when they try to convince people to buy NFT and digital collectibles. Oh, there's money to be made in the space. But anytime you start a conversation with money, our guards go up, right? It's like, wait a second,
Yep.
is this a scam? Am I being taken advantage of? So you need to start with other things that resonate with people the most. So I agree. When it comes to NFTs, it's back end technology. Just like when MP3s became a thing, back in the day in the 90s, everybody was like, let's download MP3s, let's download MP3s. And now, if you fast forward 20 years later, it's, I just want to listen to music. It's an MP3 on the back end. That's the file format, that's the technology. But when I go to Spotify or Apple Music and I click to listen to music, I listen to music
I
and it
just want to music. Yeah, exactly.
happens to
I
be
just
an MP3.
want to music.
Happens to
Yeah,
be an MP3 on the background in the back end, but we don't call it that, nor should we. So these are
yeah.
digital toys, digital collectibles, and we should call them what they are and what they should be marketed as.
Yeah, and Alexander says the consumers gave the value to those Pokemon cards. It's like any other niche. If one person or a group consider an item to be worth $1 million, they will pay that and
Totally.
more. So,
Okay.
yeah, the same concept. I do want to touch on, although I will not get technical here, but I do want to touch on user experience and self custody because there is an opportunity for that here as well. And I will present it in a very normie manner. So, say, Christmas is coming up and Mona collects all things Star Wars and she wants to have that digital Grogu. By the way, when is digital Grogu coming?
No comment on digital delivery. I
Dang
will.
it.
I do have to flex. This is something that I got at. I don't want to divert the conversation too much, but I got to show this off. This is.
I'll
You
just
got your
read
Grogu there. We got my Grogu here, so they can be friends one day. Um,
it. Yes.
Grogu's. But then I got this guy here at Toy Fair just last week, and I think it's so epic. It's Mando
Look, stop it. That's
holding
Mando with holding Grogu?
yeah, his little like daddy pose. I think it's some.
Stop. That is just too cute. That is
Oh,
adorable.
at
So
that.
is
Yeah.
that is there gonna be a digital of that? Tell us something. Give us something.
No comment on digital. I will say I'm a huge Mandalorian
Okay.
fan. I love
Same.
Mandalorian, one of my favorite shows, and yeah, that's all I can
Okay,
say.
fine. So Christmas is coming. Mona wants one of those digitals, and I'm sure by then it'll be dropping. But let's say my grandma wants to buy it for me.
Yeah,
What
sure.
is that process like? She only has a PayPal account and a credit card.
I'm glad you mentioned grandma because we designed Cryptoid to be something that a grandmother can buy for her grandchild, a Cryptoid, without any blockchain knowledge whatsoever. You go, you sign up, you can sign up with an email address, and you're using your credit card or Apple Pay or Google Pay, no blockchain wallet even necessary. Now, to your point about self custody and custodial wallets and non custodial wallets, I think there's absolutely an importance there, but I think folks need to graduate into that. The next 5 million people that are coming into the space, they don't have an interest in self custody right off the bat because they don't understand self custody. They don't understand what keys are. It's a lot of complications and a lot of risk that they're not willing to jump in yet. It's just like when you buy your first Bitcoin, the first time you buy Bitcoin will likely be through an exchange. It'll be through Coinbase or a favorite exchange, whichever you use. And then as you get more involved in the space, you learn about self custody, opening up a non custodial wallet, and then transferring out of an exchange into your self custody wallet if you choose to do so. So we want to provide a similar experience, but we truly believe, and this is just our position and hypothesis, that the majority of people that will start just want ease of use and a great customer experience. Because without a great customer experience, this is all for naught. This is, we will have to create a great customer experience first. And then as they get comfortable using blockchain and Web3 and digital collecting, they could then decide to move things to a self custody wallet. It's the equivalent of like, do you want your money in a bank or do you want your money under your mattress? Right? It's really up to you. And I think there's a time and a place for both. And it's just about meeting the consumer where they're at. But for a grandparent to buy a cryptoy, if we started the conversation and told that person, forget about a grandparent or a parent, forget about those, even a 20 or a 30-year-old that's discovering this for the first time. Okay, step one, open up a MetaMask wallet. Open up a MetaMask wallet, then come back, then go to
How about?
Coinbase, go to
Yeah.
Coinbase, KYC at Coinbase. Then you're going to need to buy Ethereum, then copy this address, put this in Coinbase, transfer it over to this wallet. Then once it's filled, then you can go back and buy your digital toy. You lost them already at step one.
No, I'm already not interested. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm just saying we got to keep it simple and straightforward. right?
Absolutely. And I just wanted people to hear that from you because
Yeah,
it can be simple. And there are people like you that are making that process simple because, and especially when it comes to collectibles, when we want something and when it's a compelling story that we just watch and we have to have that character, you
right,
know what we do. I mean, we look at what we do with sneakers.
right.
We wait in line, we go around the block 10 times, we'll jump through every hoop, we call every person we know. So
Yep,
we're willing to do what we got to do to have that one precious thing that we want. The initial phases have already been done. You've already made me love sneakers. So you have to make me love that digital collectible for me to jump through all those hoops, right? And I think you're really approaching that very nicely here. Thank
I
you for
appreciate
that.
it. No, thank you.
As we start to close here, and time is going by so fast, I do want to ask you, looking ahead. Let's say, I mean, we are in a bear market. Let's say, I don't know, 2 3 years from now, when it comes to digital collectibles in this realm right here, what should consumers, collectors, creators, we didn't talk about creators, by the way. Maybe this will be a good opportunity to insert that. What should they be anticipating when it comes to opportunities, especially for creators, and then some challenges that we still may have to mitigate as well?
Yeah, well, I think for creators, I think there hasn't been a better time to start creating. Whether you're creating content, you're building a brand. I think digital collecting and some of these platforms that are being created, whether it's Cryptoys or VV or some of these other platforms that are launching, it really gives people an opportunity to showcase the things that they're passionate about and create communities around their products and fandom and creating their own fans. So I would lean into the space heavily if I'm a creator. There's been amazing people in the space. Mona, you're one of them. There's other folks like
Thank you.
Superstar Money and others that I think very, very highly of that are creating content in the space that could really start to leverage their own brand and build sub communities around their brand through digital collecting. And digital collecting doesn't have to mean just collecting, it could mean access or a token into gated experiences and unique things that help support the creator but also give great value back to the fan base. And I think this is an incredible medium for that. And I think, as we lead into the future of the space as a whole, I think we had a healthy reset, no pun intended to shout out to the reset on Sunday evenings, but we have gone through a reset, but a healthy and necessary one. Um, this space was never going to grow sustainably in a healthy way if it was just about 50,000 individual speculators just flipping things back to each other back and forth. We needed to find stable ground to attract the next few million people to the space. And in my opinion, it's all about user experience, answering the question to the normal person: what can I do with these things? Why does the digital format give me new experiences as a fan that I can't get in a physical format? And again, I'm a big music guy. I have a vinyl collection right behind me, right? I have a vinyl record player and a collection of vinyl of my favorite albums. There's something very satisfying about sitting down at the end of the day, opening the sleeve, putting the vinyl on the record. It's almost like meditative. But honestly, Mona, that is maybe 1% of my music listening moments is at the vinyl player. The other 99% is because it's convenience in the car, when I'm traveling, when I'm going for a run. It's digital because digital is everywhere. It's where I am. It meets me in my life where I am at that moment. It's never going to replace my vinyl experience. I love my vinyl experience, just like we love our Grogu's that we were just hugging a minute ago, right? But those are the 1% to the 5% of our lives. And the great thing is these amazing supercomputers that are in our pockets go wherever we are and they meet us wherever we are. So if you're able to be on the beach in Hawaii and pull out your AR camera and your Grogu's right there, sipping a Mai Tai, right? That gives you a great experience with the fandom. You know what I mean? That you couldn't get because your other one is at home. So it's not about replacing, but I think digital is starting to meet us as consumers where we are, just like the music industry is starting to do that, the movie industry is starting to do that. I see the toys and collectible industry obviously following that same trend. So we're heading towards that way, but we have to answer the question: what can I do with these things? To folks that haven't been in the space, and I think we are answering that question, and it's becoming more clear as we go on a day by day basis moving forward.
Absolutely. And I mean, once immersive worlds are built as well, I mean, people are going to meet these characters and be a part of their world. So that's a whole nother conversation to have. Your philosophy is entertain, educate, and empower collectors. And I have this one question that I ask every builder who comes on my show. So now it's your turn. A lot of times, oftentimes in our space, we talk a lot about what we're building and we seldom talk about why we're building what we're building. So let me propose the question to you. Why are you building Cryptoys?
I mean, we just believe so much that this is a huge part of the future. That digital is going to be a huge part of this industry, and we wanted to build something. We knew for a fact that all these brands are going to come to the table. We also know digital is a very new and emerging world, and as parents ourselves, we wanted to make sure we have a seat at the table to ensure that we create the best experiences possible in the most healthy way possible for our children and for future generations. At the end of the day, our mission is like what you said, right? It's to educate and empower and entertain the next generation, to get folks involved in this space, not just from an entertainment and consumerized standpoint and buying products, but educating them. What is Web3? What does digital mean? How do I participate? How do I create content that I can potentially monetize and build a community around? We really want to have a seat at the table as parents ourselves to do this in the right way. And then at the end of the day, it's incredibly satisfying for us to bring smiles to people's faces. And in a world, and what's going on in the world right now, as you know, Mona, is very thick and very dense, and there's a lot of hardships going on right now, and a lot of senselessness. And still, we life goes on, and we need levity, and we need smiles, and we need happiness, and we need entertainment. We need to find those in the places we can find it. So whenever I get a video of a mom with their kid and they're unboxing a cryptoy together and they're giggling together, or the son that's putting his hand out at the screen saying he's using the force to unbox a cryptoy, and there's an ear to ear smile. I mean, that makes us completely satisfied at the end of the day. We're bringing joy to people. I also believe deeply that inside every single one of us is a kid inside of us that's trying to get out, right? I have this theory that we grow up, we become adults, and we're constantly looking for ways to feel like a kid again. Whether that's the clothes that we wear, the people we talk to, the music we listen to, the cars that we drive, the sneakers we wear. I mean, our connection to sneakers, Mona, is very much the child inside of us saying, like, look, here it is. We can buy these sneakers now. We can afford them and they look awesome. And like, that's the kid in us. And everybody remembers when they were a kid, like seeing Jurassic Park for the first time or going to Disneyland for the first time. Everything felt larger than life and everything was achievable. There was a sense of wonder and happiness and joy that we just felt so naturally as a child. We were just so in tune with that. That's how we led our lives, was to find that joy and happiness. And as we become adults, life starts to harden us. We have to pay bills, we go into debt, we have relationship challenges, all these different things come into our lives. But I know for a fact there's a kid in every single one of us, and if we could just find for 30 seconds of a day, or 2 minutes of a day, to get in touch with that child inside of us, I think the world will be a better place. And I'm just happy that Cryptoys can allow people to connect with that inner child, even if it's only for a few seconds a day when they use our product. So that's a big part of the why we do what we do.
And you are absolutely doing that, my friend. I mean, I talk about projects that touch my heart and I talk about projects that I see a future that is going to evolve. We're not going to be stuck where we've been for I mean every decade there's a transition and there's a next iteration and you look for people who are visionaries like yourself that can see that future. And although there are a lot of people out there who are still questioning, and that's okay. This is still the bleeding edge. Where you guys are building on this bleeding edge, but I see a beautiful future, a very compelling story that you will tell. And so I want to thank you for the work that you guys and you and your team are doing. I am so excited for you and Cryptoys, and I will be all eyes on you guys to see how you will continue to transform our collecting experiences, shopping experiences, entertainment experiences. So, this is not the last conversation we're going to have. This is the beginning of many more to come.
Awesome. I look forward to those, Mona. And thank you for having me. It's been a joy to chat with you, and I definitely look forward to the next one.
Of course. And where can people find out more, get involved by Grogu Digital that's coming soon?
Yeah. So the best way, cryptoys.com. You can just simply just go to our website and interact with our product that way. You can find us on Twitter/X at Cryptoys, and also I'm on Twitter as well at Will Weinraub. You can find me on LinkedIn and all the social networks as well if you want to connect there. But easiest way to find our stuff is at cryptoys.com.
Yep, and I will put all that information in the note section. Will, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your insight with us. I hope we get to see you again and hear more about the progress that you guys are making.
Thank you, Mona. I appreciate it so much.
Of course. All right, guys, that is all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. I'll be back again next week with more insight and technology. Until then, I'm your host, Mona. Stay positive.